Hello everybody, welcome to our little show. I see some people are already logging on here, about 8 people joining us right now. We're going to get going in just a couple of minutes. Hello Linda, hello Joanne. I think I see Barb Cavey there too. Hello there, my mother from England. Nice to see you, Mum. Ross is in the back in the kitchen. She's watching over this because I won't always be able to watch the comments while I'm doing the songs. But she'll try to keep track of who's here and who's watching and reply and welcome and everything. So it's a beautiful frosty day. I'm right behind the camera here. I'm looking out of our front window and there's hoarfrost all over the trees here in Edmonton, and it's looking like a really just a wintry sort of day. Good day for this kind of a show. So this is Songs of the Christmas Season number 2. We've done one a week ago, and maybe we'll do one more before Christmas comes. So some traditional songs and some of my own, and I'll try to fill you in a little bit on some of the background to some of them as we go through. So I'm going to start with a sip of tea. That's what I'm going to start with. I hope you've got a nice cup of coffee, or maybe you're having your lunch as you're watching today. I'm going to start with a well-known traditional carol, but perhaps not to a well-known traditional tune. The words to this carol were collected in 1909 by the great folk song collector Cecil Sharp in southwest England. But all the indications are that the words are very, very much older than that. The earliest version of the lyrics that we have from a broadside, which was like a penny song sheet that was sold on the city streets, sold in Birmingham in the early 1800s. So I'm going to sing this to a sort of a tune that's well known in folk music circles in England, but not so well known perhaps in church music circles. And I'm going to sing it a cappella, which is my favorite way to sing it. So here we go. You'll know the words, I'm sure, and if you catch on to the tune, feel free to sing along. Here we go. Oh, the holly and the ivy, when they are both full grown, of all the trees that are in the wood, the holly bears the crown. Oh, the rising of the sun and the running of the deer, the playing of the merry organ, sweet singing all in the choir. Oh, the holly bears a blossom as white as lily flower, and Mary bore sweet Jesus Christ to be our sweet Saviour. Oh, the rising of the sun and the running of the deer, the playing of the merry organ, sweet singing all in the choir. Oh, the holly bears a berry as red as any blood, and Mary bore sweet Jesus Christ to do poor sinners good. Oh, the rising of the sun and the running of the deer, the playing of the merry organ, sweet singing all in the choir. Oh, the holly bears a prickle as sharp as any thorn, and Mary bore sweet Jesus Christ on Christmas Day in the morn. Oh, the rising of the sun and the running of the deer, the playing of the merry organ, sweet singing all in the choir. Oh, the holly bears a bark as bitter as any gall, and Mary bore sweet Jesus Christ for to redeem us all. Oh, the rising of the sun and the running of the deer, the playing of the merry organ, sweet singing all in the choir. Oh, the holly and the ivy, when they are both full grown, of all the trees that are in the wood, the holly bears the crown. Holly and the Ivy, sung to a well-known traditional English folk tune. Thanks everybody who's been tuning in. I see there's been a few more tuning in while I was singing that song from all over the place. I can see Sharon Mogahi, nice to see you, Sharon, and Wendy Constantinoff from West Yorkshire, and Karen Olsen. Nice to see you all. Thank you for joining in today with this live stream. Now, let's get the old guitar going here. So William Chatterton Dix apparently was an English insurance salesman in the mid-19th century, and in the 1860s he suffered from a serious illness, and in the context of that illness he had something of a spiritual awakening, and one of the results of that spiritual awakening was that he wrote a number of pretty well-known hymns now, and this is perhaps one of the best known, What Child Is This? And I'm not sure if he originally had a tune in mind when he wrote it, but it is traditionally done now to the tune of Greensleeves, which is popularly attributed to King Henry VIII, which would put it in, as you know, the 16th century. I don't know whether that's true or not, but that's the popular understanding of it. So, here we go. What child is this? What child is this who laid to rest on Mary's lap is sleeping, whom angels greet with anthems sweet, while shepherds watch are keeping? This is Christ the King, whom shepherds guard and angels sing. Haste to bring him, Lord, the babe, the Son of Mary. Why lies he in such mean estate, where ox and ass are feeding? Could Christians fear for sinners here? The silent word is pleading. Nail spear shall pierce him through, the cross be borne for me, for you. Hail, hail, the word made flesh, the babe, the Son of Mary. So bring him incense, gold, and myrrh. Come, peasant king, to own him. The King of kings salvation brings. Let loving hearts enthrone him. Raise, raise a song on high. The Virgin sings her lullaby. Joy, joy, for Christ is born, the babe, the Son of Mary. Stephen Hill, nice to see you. Haven't seen you since we played a gig in St Leonard's Church, Southminster. How many years ago was that now? Great to have you joining us, Stephen and Jane, all the way from Essex, not too far away from where I lived as a teenager. Well, that's nice. Why is he changing guitars, you ask? Because this one is tuned to a different tuning, open C. So we've had a traditional folk song, we've had one from the 19th century that we know who wrote it, and I'd like to share a song with you now that I wrote. This is called The Wise Man's Servant. One of the things I love to do when it comes to Christmas is put myself in the position of one of the characters in the Christmas story. I don't know if the wise men ever had servants, but if they did, I like to think that this might be the sort of story that one of them would have told many years later when he was an old man. So here it goes. Let me tell you a tale of a journey I made in the long ago days of my youth, when Melchior, my master, and a few of his friends went travelling in search of the truth. They were stargazers, all of them magi, you know, the movements of planets and stars always show. Fortunes of kings and their subjects below the glittering heavenly roof. I was only a servant, so I never knew the reasons for the journeys we made. But I never imagined that day we left home, our return would be so long delayed. My Lord found his way by the light of a star, but who'd have believed it would lead us so far? To a village in Judah where old Balthazar said that's where the baby is laid. That long journey in search of a child who one day would rule as a king. But this was no palace, it was just a small house, no soldiers or servants within. Just Mary and Joseph with Jesus their son, but my master was certain that this was the one. Prophets and sages had hailed in their songs the one who God's favour would bring. That was long years ago, and I'm now an old man, and my grandchildren sit on my knee. Tell them the stories of long ago days, the journeys my mind can still see. Last week a young preacher arrived at our door, and he told that same story that I've told before. With the circle completed, I listened once more to the things I had seen and believed. Wise Man's Servant. Who knows whether anybody ever actually told that story, but I like to think that they would have. Paul and Denise joining us from Luton. Nice to see you guys again. It's last time I saw Paul, I was doing a concert in his church in Essex. So it's lovely to be joined by folks from England in what is the evening over there in the UK. Here in Canada, it's a beautiful wintry lunchtime. We have got some quite cold and damp weather, and I'm looking out my window here at the hoarfrost on the trees as we continue now. So we're going to go back to a traditional Christmas folk song now. And nobody really knows how old this one is. I got this version sort of slightly adapted it from the Sloane manuscript, which dates back to the 15th century. It's called The Seven Joys of Mary. Some of you may not know that the word carol was actually not originally associated with Christmas. Originally, musically, a carol meant any folk song which had a religious theme. And by folk song, they meant a song who we don't know who wrote it. It's been sort of passed down from hand to hand and mouth to mouth through the years. And so in traditional hymn books, Christmas songs and carols are often separated from each other because the carols have a wider theme rather than just Christmas. So the Seven Joys of Mary is often sung at Christmas, but in fact, although it starts with the Christmas story, it doesn't stop there. It carries right through the whole story of Jesus' life, his ministry, his death, and his ascension, resurrection and ascension. So here we go, the Seven Joys of Mary. I'm going to take another little sip of water here, or tea I should say. First good joy that Mary had, it was the joy of one, to see the blessed Jesus Christ when he was first her son. When he was first her son, good man and blessed may he be. Praise Father, Son and Holy Ghost through all eternity. The next good joy that Mary had, it was the joy of two, to see her own son Jesus Christ, to make the lame to go, to make the lame to go, good man and blessed may he be. Praise Father, Son and Holy Ghost through all eternity. The next good joy that Mary had, it was the joy of three, to see her own son Jesus Christ, to make the blind to see, to make the blind to see, good man and blessed may he be. Praise Father, Son and Holy Ghost through all eternity. The next good joy that Mary had, it was the joy of four, to see her own son Jesus Christ, to read the Bible or to read the Bible or, good man and blessed may he be. Praise Father, Son and Holy Ghost through all eternity. The next good joy that Mary had, it was the joy of five, to see her own son Jesus Christ, to bring the dead alive, to bring the dead alive, good man and blessed may he be. Praise Father, Son and Holy Ghost through all eternity. The next good joy that Mary had, it was the joy of six, to see her own son Jesus Christ upon the crucifix, upon the crucifix, good man and blessed may he be. Praise Father, Son and Holy Ghost through all eternity. The next good joy that Mary had, it was the joy of seven, to see her own son Jesus Christ, to wear the crown of heaven, to wear the crown of heaven, good man and blessed may he be. Praise Father, Son and Holy Ghost through all eternity. Seven Joys of Mary. Sorry, I got a little bit muddled in the accompaniment there at the end. I only play these songs through once a year, though, so I don't get time to practice them as much as some of the others I do. But that's a jolly little folk song, isn't it? I quite like that one. Hope you enjoyed it. It's a little bit weird, you know. Normally, if when we're playing songs for folks, we can see them. So, you know, usually I'd be sitting in a little coffee shop and there might be 10 or 15 of you sitting there. 15 if it's a good day, maybe up at the Carrot on White Avenue on a Friday night. And I could see your faces and I could see your enjoyment and hear you singing along with the ones that you know and join you and have a little chat with you and a coffee in the break. Can't really do that right now. I can see some of you because you're chatting in the comments section here, and that's really nice. But I just have to take it on faith that somewhere in that little camera, there you are, not far away. And I hope that you're having a good time. This is a song I learned from my dad. And my dad learned it when he was in seminary in England in the 1960s. It's a song by a songwriter called Peter Chesters, and it's a blues carol, and he calls it Good Enough for Him. I usually think of it as Jesus was born in a stable. But for quite a few years I didn't really know how to play this carol, because although I knew the tune and the words, I'd never actually heard a live version of it or seen the music. And then I came across the music on the internet a few years ago, and I saw that it was headed Blues Carol. And that's when I thought, it's supposed to be played like a blues song. So then I kind of made up this announcement for it, and this accompaniment for it, and I've been playing it ever since. I recorded this a few years ago with a stand-up bass player and a lead guitarist, and that recording is up on my Reverb Nation music site if you would like to hear it. Rob Joseph was the stand-up bass player, and he's a wonderful bass player. It would be nice if he was here with me in my living room tonight, or this afternoon, but he's not. Here we go. Jesus was born in a stable. There was no room in the inn. He had a stall for a cradle that was good enough for him. Cattle asleep in the corner, Joseph kept watch from within. Can you imagine the sorrow that was good enough for him? No kingly robe for his vesture, no royal hall for this one, but Mary fondled her treasure, for he was God's dear son. No kingly robe for his vesture, no royal hall for this one, but Mary fondled her treasure, for he was God's dear son. Jesus was born in a stable. There was no room in the inn. He had a stall for a cradle that was good enough for him. And that I'm not really a lead guitarist, so I just have to kind of fake that lead part. I've played with 2 or 3 really good lead guitarists who've put some really beautiful chops on in there. So I use your imagination a little bit, I guess. But it is a lovely carol, isn't it? I've always really enjoyed playing that one. Now I want to do another traditional song for you again, which I'm going to sing a cappella. And nobody really knows how old this one is. Again, it was collected by folk song collectors in the early 1900s in various places in England. Cecil Sharp collected one version of it. Ralph Vaughan Williams collected another version of it. There are longer versions and shorter versions. The shorter version has about 5 verses. The longer has about 10 or 12. I've kind of just picked a few verses from both and put them together into my version here. And I like this because it sort of tells the whole story of salvation right from the beginning. So let me just take a little sip of tea and then I'll try to pick a key. This is the truth sent from above, the truth of God, the God of love. Therefore don't turn me from your door, but hearken all, both rich and poor. The first thing which I do relate, it is that God did man create. The next thing which to you I'll tell, woman was made with man to dwell. Then after this 'twas God's own choice to place them both in paradise, there to remain from evil free, except they ate of such a tree. And they did eat, which was a sin, and thus their ruin did begin. Ruin themselves, both you and me, and all of their posterity. Thus we were heirs to endless woes, till God the Lord did interpose, and so the promise soon did run, that he would redeem us by his Son. And at this season of the year, our blessed Redeemer did appear, and here did live, and here did preach, and many thousands he did teach. Thus he in love to us behaved, to show us how we must be saved. And if you want to know the way, be pleased to hear what he did say. God grant to all within this place true saving faith, that special grace which to his people doth belong. And thus I close my Christmas song. Kind of a good song too, isn't it? I love the way it tells the whole story and then applies it all to us at the end. Now, who did I see? Graham, nice to see you, Graham. Paul, joining us from out there on the west coast in BC. and Sheila. Quite a few people gathered here. Nice to see you all. Right. So from ancient times in England, we are going to 19th century America for this really beautiful carol, which I recorded a couple of years ago as my Christmas song. This song was written by a gentleman by the name of Edmund Sears, and he wrote it in 1849. I've been told that he was a Unitarian minister, but I don't really know anything else about him. Just a minute. Put new strings on this guitar last night, and now I have to make sure that it's in tune all the time. How's everybody doing out there? Are you comfortable? I see that Graham's making his lunch. Kathy's watching us in Waldheim, Saskatchewan, sipping a mocha. I imagine some of you English folks are having your tea, by which, for you North Americans, I don't mean that they're drinking tea. I mean that they're eating a meal, which they call tea. Here we go. It came upon the midnight clear, that glorious song of old, from angels bending near the earth to touch their harps of gold. Peace on the earth, goodwill to men, from heaven's all gracious King. The world in solemn stillness lay to hear the angels sing. Still through the cloven skies they come, with peaceful wings unfurled, and still their heavenly music floats o'er all the weary world. Above its sad and lonely plains they bend on hovering wing, and ever o'er its Babel sounds the blessed angels sing. Yet with the woes of sin and strife, the world has suffered long. Beneath the angel strain have rolled 2,000 years of wrong, and man at war with man hears not the love song which they bring. Oh, hush the noise, ye men of strife, and hear the angels sing. Oh, ye beneath life's crushing load, whose forms are bending low, who toil along the climbing way with painful steps and slow. Look now, for glad and golden hours come swiftly on the wing, Thank you, everybody. I'm taking it on faith that there's some applause going on somewhere. Paul is correcting me. He's telling me that, in fact, they are eating supper while I'm singing. Fish. Oh, of course, it's Friday. Of course there's fish. Seriously, it's lovely to be gathering together a community to enjoy some music from so many different places right now. From here in Edmonton and from the coast of BC and from Saskatchewan and all the way over to the UK as well. Lovely to have you with us today from our living room here in Edmonton. I wonder if you did the same thing that we did. I wonder if you put your Christmas tree up earlier than usual this year. I think a lot of us have done that. We've sort of realised that in these days of pandemic, when a lot of us are going through so much stress, we just need a bit of joy, a bit more joy in our lives. And so, as you can see over my shoulder, we've got our Christmas tree up in the back of our living room here. And we've got a couple of strings of cards. Oh, we just have one string so far of cards hung from the wall here. And as cards come in from people, we hang them on that string as well. We have a bear hanging in our hallway. His name is Theodore, and he's got some candy canes in a pocket, and he usually gives a candy cane to all visitors who come to our house during the Christmas season. But we're not getting any visitors to our house right now because of the pandemic, so I have to confess we're eating the candy canes. Wonder what Christmas traditions you are following in your house this year as we go through the Advent season. I was trying to figure a way I could fit the Advent wreath into this little live stream, but I couldn't really find a place to put it out here. But you'll just have to take it on faith that it's sitting on the kitchen table there, where Marcy's replying to your comments. Here's another English Christmas carol. I think it's kind of a beautiful testimony to the multicultural spirit of England that the English poet who wrote this carol is called Christina Rossetti, and the tune by which it's usually sung is written by that great English composer Gustav Holst. Sorry, this guitar is driving me bananas. Okay, here we go. No, that's awful. As my friend Maria Dunn likes to say, tuning is like aircraft maintenance. It's always worthwhile. In the bleak midwinter, frosty wind made moan, earth stood hard as iron, water like a stone. Snow had fallen, snow on snow, snow on snow. In the bleak midwinter, long ago. Our God heaven cannot hold him, nor earth sustain. Heaven and earth will flee away when he comes to reign. Yet what I can I give him, give my heart. How's everybody doing out there? Are you enjoying yourself? Nice to see some comments. Steve, I'm sorry about your broadband connection. I hope you're able to get it back. I see there are 17 computers watching now, which is quite a bit better than most gigs that I do in coffee shops. So thank you all for joining us for this special occasion. We're getting close to the end now. I think maybe just 2 more. And then it'll be time for me to have my lunch and then get back to, you know, the busyness of getting ready for all the Christmas services and things like that. This is actually one of my favorite Christmas carols. It's actually really more of a Boxing Day carol, but we usually sing it at Christmas time anyway. I'm sure that you will know it, and I would love it if you would sing along so that we can get a kind of global chorus going. We won't be able to hear each other, but at least we'll know that we're all singing at more or less the same time. Oh, thank you, Sarah. Thank you for that lovely comment. And Karen, I'm glad you liked that. Sheila. Here we go. Ready to kick your feet up a bit? Here we go. Good King Wenceslas looked out on the feast of Stephen, when the snow lay round about, deep and crisp and even. Brightly shone the moon that night, though the frost was cruel, when a poor man came in sight, gathering winter fuel. Hear the page and stand by me, if thou know'st it telling, yonder peasant, who is he, where and what his dwelling? Sigh, he lives a good league hence, underneath the mountain, right against the forest fence, by St. Agnes fountain. Bring me flesh and bring me wine, bring me pine logs hither, thou and I will see him dine, when we bear them thither. Page and monarch forth they went together, through the rude winds wild lament, and the bitter weather. Sire, the night is darker now, and the wind blows stronger. Fails my heart, I know not how, I can go no longer. Mark my footsteps, my good page, tread thou in them boldly. Thou shalt find the winter's rage, freeze thy blood less coldly. In his master's steps he trod, where the snow lay dinted. Heat was in the very sod, which the saint had printed. Therefore, Christian men, be sure, wealth or rank possessing, ye who now will bless the poor, shall yourselves find blessing. Well, I hope you enjoyed that one. So, I'm going to do one more, and this is the song which I recorded this year as my Christmas song. And I know that there are at least 2 German speakers listening in today, so I'm going to be really careful here. I said to somebody a day or two ago, when I moved to the Central Arctic community of Ulukhaktuk, I didn't speak any Inuktitut. But being an Anglican minister, I had to lead the service, and so the bishop sent me a tape, and I spent 6 months practicing the words of the morning prayer and evening prayer services, so that I could hit the ground running, as it were. And so for the first few months in Ulukhaktuk, every Sunday I had the experience of leading service, speaking words that I didn't really understand. And I knew what the words of the English service were, but I wasn't sure if they were exactly the same. So I feel a little bit like that with Stille Nacht. Some of you may know the story of Stille Nacht. It was written in 1818, and it was first performed in a village church in Austria on Christmas Eve. And Joseph Mohr is the name of the Catholic priest who wrote the lyrics. There are actually originally 6 verses in German, but my friend Erica Baker tells me that only 3 are usually sung nowadays, and they're almost the same as the 3 that we sing in English. Now, the interesting thing from my point of view as a guitar player is that on the Christmas Eve in which the song was first sung, the church had been damaged by a flood and the organ was not functioning. So Joseph Mohr got a friend of his who was an organist at a nearby church to make a guitar arrangement for Stille Nacht. And so the first time this song was ever sung, Christmas Eve in 1818 in a church, it was sung on guitar. Here we go. Once again, thank you so much, everybody. This will be the last song of our little gig, and then I'm going to get Marcy to just tiptoe in at the end and just turn off the live feed for me. So thank you very much. Have a good rest of your day and a wonderful continuation of the Advent season. Here we go with Stille Nacht. Stille Nacht, heilige Nacht, alles schläft, einsam wacht, nur das traute hochheilige Paar, holder Knabe in lockigen Haar, schlaf in himmlischer Ruhe, schlaf in himmlischer Ruhe. Stille Nacht, heilige Nacht, Gottes Sohn, oh wie lacht, lieb aus deinem göttlichen Mund, da uns schlägt die rettende Stund. Christ in deiner Geburt, Christ in deiner Geburt. Thank you very much, everybody. Thanks for joining in. Hope you have a wonderful rest of the day and a wonderful continuation of the Advent season. And I'll probably do another one of these next week, so watch the Facebook feed and you'll find out when it is. Take care. God bless. Bye for now.